Okay, so welcome to the second session of Reclaim Your Crown, the Imposter Syndrome Challenge. Yes. And you can take a second and tell me how you're doing again in the chat. And honestly, why this challenge is important to you. I would love to know that too. Why is this challenge important to you? For me, it's about bringing more tools to Black and Brown women so they can claim what's theirs, right? Too many of us are brilliant but paralyzed, and I want to change that. I've always kind of longed for, spaces where we can really see us in the space, where spaces where I could be poured into. I think as I was really working on myself and growing and evolving just as a woman, right? And becoming this like higher level adult, running a business, speaking, stepping into leadership roles, I've always valued this idea of being poured into. And now that I'm in a position to do that, I am really glad, blessed, and fortunate to be able to create spaces for more of us to be poured into as well. So that's why this space is important to me. But I would love to know, what brings you here and why this is important to you. And if you can put that there for me too, that'd be awesome. Yeah, and I see some stuff there, right? Like, I need to remember how amazing I am. I love that. And that's important too. Yeah. So, welcome to the outpouring. All you got to do is really sit and position yourself to receive. So just to recap, in our first session, here's what we did. Okay, so we recognize imposter syndrome, something that every single one of us has encountered at some point. And it's really the thief of our gifts, our purpose, and our abilities. Okay. And how we spoke about it yesterday was in a way that I want you to always keep in mind, which is just to approach with self-compassion. Let me stop sharing here so you can see me a little bit better, right? Hey, 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 hey. And I want you to think about approaching you with self-compassion. We approached it with compassion because some of it has been this protective factor for us as we navigate spaces that don't always represent who we are or acknowledge us as Black and Brown women, right? And not just those spaces, but even within like our closer intimate circles, right? Our family relationships, things like that. I don't always think people understand the weight and responsibilities that we carry as women, right? We support our families, we support expectations, our culture, this idea of Black excellence and whatever it means to achieve and be successful. We walk with all of that. And that is unique to us. Okay, so, those responsibilities and all the things, sometimes it positions us to act and carry on in ways that may not be true to us, and really that disconnects us from our power. So what we did yesterday was we named the mass, right? And you definitely want to go back to session 1 if you missed it. We got to the roots where we were reminded by Miss Maya Angelo who you were, right? And this need to rise. You guys had some homework to pull it all together. And if you did the homework, I'd love to know, how did that go? If you have any insights that you want to share, any aha moments, feel free to drop that in the chat. The homework is really designed to bring this experience together because it's a lot of information in a short period of time. And I really don't want it to just be something that you hear. I want it to be something that you hear, you receive, and then you put it into practice. Okay? Makes sense so far? Y'all are with me? Let me know if you're with me. All right now, y'all know I love my class participation, okay? Beautiful. All right, so that brings us to today. And today is about reconnecting with your strength and reclaiming your confidence. So, with the foundation set in the last session, today we'll focus on how to reclaim our self-confidence by reconnecting to our strengths. And what it really reminds me of, it's like if you misplace your baggage at like the airport or something and they paid you overhead to come claim what's yours. This challenge isn't about something you never had. It's about what was always yours, but maybe you lost sight of it, right? Today is the universe paging you to come collect it again so you can get to your next destination. So if you are ready to reclaim what's yours, put a yes in the chat for me. Even if y'all on the replay, claim that yes out loud, right? Write it down, snatch it back, sis. Okay, because like this season of hesitation for us and waiting has just ended. You are required to do more, to go deeper, to elevate higher, and to do what you've been really called to do, right? And you really have to just open up your closet and see everything that's already there, everything that you bring to the table. Shoot, some of y'all are like so dope, like y'all got your own table and you coming with it, right? Some of y'all are the table and just need to invite people to it, right? I might need to pull up to some of y'all because that's how good you are. This is just like remembering that, coming back to that. So this work is mostly, what I do. I am a mindset coach for Black and Brown women in business. I want you to know who's like guiding you through this experience. I'll tell you a little bit about me in case you don't know. I am a psychotherapist with a practice here in New York, founder of the Mindset and Motivation Community on Facebook. I love that group. And founder of the Elevated Experience, the Motivated Mindset Collective, which is a space that I've designed to do work like this and on a regular basis. Because let's be real, moments like this, it's great, but it's not enough for the reality of what we have to deal with, the challenges of life and what it can bring. And just in my work and the things that I've seen, I know that there's a lot of junk out there. There's not a lot of quality out there. And that's not what I rock with. I deliver substance and I expect nothing but the best for the women that I work with, right? So if that's not you, you don't like the best and you don't like to show up and like really do some work, I might not be for you. Right. And what you can't see, but you'll probably feel as we go on is I am a woman of God, right? I'm a marathoner. I'm a mom of two. I'm an author, speaker, retreat host. We are actually off to Bali in a couple of weeks. I'm a professor, a wife. I'm Trinidadian. I'm someone who's really learned to believe in her possibilities. I'm just like everybody else. So sometimes I hurt. Sometimes I get a little overwhelmed. I'm actually an introvert with some extroverted tendencies. But yeah, that's me. But I think for me, it's like I always find a way. I always find my way, as I hope to help you find your way today. So that's who I am. But we came to work. So let's work. Today's plan, we're gonna reset your strengths. It's kind of like, the power strips. And whenever you have like a huge like surge of like electricity or power, the wire trips, right? And it just shuts everything down for safety. Well, that's what I think has happened to a lot of us. Our circuits have tripped. And today we hit the reset button, starting with our strengths. And then we'll do some work around keeping that crown in place. All right, so I'm trying to keep this like a very like power packed, maybe like 30, 35 minutes or so. So you got time to go do what you got to do, but you can still get in the information and then of course do the homework to put it all together. All right, making sense so far? Let me know. Checking with my people. Oh, I love it. I'm doing well. I'm ready to show up for me. Yes, that's why we're here. Yes. Woo. She said, I love that I'm the table. That's cool because I'm going to scooch on up to you. Make room for the rest of us. Oh, y'all are amazing. And then we're also going to look at how do we continue this work. So I've been flowing off of our homegirl, Maya Angelo. So I thought I would drop another one of her quotes today, right? And I think just in the essence of like Juneteenth, all the blackity blackness, right? Because we are freaking dope, right? All of that stuff. And I love her and what she's represented. So I wanted to reflect on one of her powerful thoughts. She asked the question, what is a fear of living? Okay, and she said it's being preeminently afraid of dying. It's not doing what you came here to do out of timidity or spinelessness. The antidote is to take full responsibility for yourself, for the time you take up and the space you occupy. If you don't know what you're here to do, then just do some good. Maya Angelou. So to sum it all up, it's all about being scared to fully show up in your own life and not doing what you're here to do because you are holding back. And I think this imposter dynamic like causes a lot of us to hold back, right? So she's straight up saying like, it's not that complicated, girl. We just need to step up and own the time that we spend and the space we take, right? And really take full responsibility for you. And I am always this believer of a lot of things have happened to a lot of us, but we're grown now. So despite what has happened to us, we don't have to wait for anyone else to do the things that we need to do anymore. We don't have to wait for anyone else's apology. We don't have to wait for anyone else's healing to get our own, for anyone else to say it's okay for us to do X, Y, and Z. We can do a lot of that for ourselves. And to me, that's what taking full responsibility means. And you could always let me know if you agree or disagree. Right. And I just love that. Right. We can do it for ourselves. And not just that, like we have everything that we need within us to do the things. And I know that y'all have what you need because you've done it so far, right? And you've come this far. So there was something about you and how you showed up and what you did to be able to get here. Right. And I see that we can't keep waiting, right? Because we'll be stuck waiting and they be living their life, honey. Sometimes doing the same stupidness that aggravate us, but it doesn't aggravate them. They're not ready to change yet. They're not ready to grow, to heal, to do all that stuff yet. But if you are, keep going. Okay, keep going. You are all incredible. You've got all these incredible talents that shouldn't be hidden. We shouldn't be playing small. We should be accepting who we are. We should be owning it when we walk into the room instead of questioning it. So today we're going to find them and learn how to own them boldly. Your charge is to take up space and make that presence count. And if that hits home, if any of this hits home so far, I want you to drop take up space in the chat. Take up space. Take up space. Write it. And read it as many times as you see it, because there's no going back after today, honey. Take up space. Yeah, there's no going back after today. Today, you're going to take up space, girl. Yeah. All right, let's get into the hash. Oh. I'm excited about work. I get excited about other people's problems. I have to let you know that. I also have to let you know, spoiler alert, that you never lost the crown, that you are the crown. And I want you to type that for me next. I am the crown. And it'll make more sense as we do this work, but this is so important. I am the crown. So if you can, put that for me in the chat. If you can, write it down. If you can't, say it out loud in case you're driving and listening to this doing something. I am the crown. Okay, so we're going to create something of a success inventory today to help put this together for you. And I want you in the chat or on a piece of paper to list out your top 5 professional or personal successes from the past year. Okay, so we're going to start to understand who you are. And this is important because we're so distracted by a lot of the external things that we talked about yesterday that really kind of trigger us and set us off, that we really miss what's happening within us. And there's a lot that happens in us, and there's also a lot that we have that we need to take a look at. So write down your top 5, or for today's sake, we can just do 3, right? And in the last year, or if it's easier, widen the scope in the last 5 years. But definitely when you do this later, I do encourage you to go back further and create a list within a minimum of like 5 things. So get 5 things and go back a couple years, okay? I'm just gonna give you a couple seconds to work on it now. All right, beautiful. Now, for each success that you have identified, I want you to think about, how did you get there? What were the key strengths or skills that contributed to those achievements, right? So if I was promoted to X, right? If I started Y, right? If I successfully raised my kids, right? My son is getting ready to graduate. What's he graduating to? middle school, right? And that's an achievement because when I think back at it, there was a lot of sacrifice to get him into the things that he's in, right? To make sure that he had a good experience. So, in order to have that sacrifice, the person behind it, me, his family, we were determined to make sure that he got there. We were resourceful in how we use our time and how we use our connections and what we figured out that we needed to do to get him into certain programs, right? So, those are the skills. So, the achievement may seem small, it may seem insignificant, but whatever it is, I want you to list those things and list out with it the skills behind it. Creative, determined, resourceful, loving, loyal, proactive, funny, adaptable. Like, who are you? What are the things that helped you to achieve those things? Like, what's the bridge you had to cross, right? Confident. I can't build a building without tools, right? How did I get there? How did I need to show up? What did I need to tap into for me? I just have that, like, I'm not going to give up attitude, right? I know when I set my sights on something, like, that's going to be it. So make sure you get those strengths down as well, right? I really don't want you to skip this task, even if you need to come back to it, because it's designed to help your mind see the pattern of your capabilities, strengths, your worth. We want to reinforce that, and we want to reinforce the self-confidence too, and your ability to replicate these successes in future endeavors, right? If I know I got my child to A, then it gets me a little bit easier for me to do that for child B, right? If I was able to do the work to achieve X, like everything that I've done to do X, I've done it already. I've seen that experience. I've seen me do well with it. Even in mistakes, I know what I did. I know what I need to do differently. But because I've had that experience, I'm more likely to have the belief that I can. So a lot of times we've had all these experiences, but we're not looking at the detail so that we can see that same person that did that thing there is that same person that can carry over to the next thing. All right, so as you do that, if you want to, you can drop one of those successes for me, and drop 2 strengths for me in the chat. I love it. I am the crown. I am the crown. Yes. All right, so see if you can find that one success and the 2 strengths that helped you to get there. Okay, that's the work that you're doing now. Beautiful. And even if you just want to jot this down so you can come back to it, that's awesome, because I've got to keep our ship sailing, but spend time on it. Okay. Beautiful. So let me see now. I'm waiting for somebody to drop for me that I would like to get at least one. That recent achievement. Oh, look at that. I created a Black healing event for the Black community after Breonna Taylor was murdered. My goodness, that's beautiful. So what were some of the strengths it took to do that? Ah, yes, creativity, love. Yeah, it takes a lot of love to want to put yourself out there, to want to do that work, to want to create a space of healing too, right? And I love it. And I love that you did that. Okay. And I also want to say, I love that that makes you our winner right now. Okay. Let me get some. Where is my winning thing? I got everything else up here but my winning thing. Bam. Because I told you I love my class participation. Okay. So since you were the last one to drop an answer there, Lindsay Hill, write your name down. Right. But on the sidebar, just send me your email. I just want to make sure I should have it, but just in case. Um, and I'm going to send you a book, okay? And the book is called Dear Self, It's Not Time to Panic. And it fits in well with this because where we're going next is basically what the book is about. And it's my book, so I'm glad to share it with you as well. Yay! Congratulations. I'll put the link there too if folks want to take a look. But Lindsay, I'm going to mail you your own copy and sign it, okay? All right, well done. So you guys are starting to do the work and see how that's going. And what you're really identifying, it's like the parts of your crown, right? The parts that make it up, the crown of your strengths, of your successes, your experiences, and your learning. Imposter syndrome really tries hard to blind you from your own crown, and it makes us feel like that we're less than we are, that we're not the queen, honey, but like we out there working in the field. I don't even know, right? But I want you to tune into that today, right? And today we're not just reclaiming that crown, but we're learning to wear it proudly. Okay. And we're going to go back there to where it says the posture of the crown. So I want you to think about that for a second. If you were to imagine that woman boop, wearing her crown, what does she look like? How does she stand? If you could drop some of that for me in the chat. How does she speak? Right? Like, what's her posture as she's wearing that crown? Take a second and throw some of those words out there for me. I want to really describe her, right? If she's wearing that crown, all those strengths, all those her experiences, everything that she brings to the table. Ooh, baby, how is she showing up? What's she looking like? Right? Yeah. So she's confident, she's upright, she's smiling, she's strong, right? All of those things. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a moment to just walk you through a quick meditation. It's going to be really quick. Okay. And with that in mind, I want you to visualize yourself with all the strengths that you were thinking about, that you wrote down, that you identified, all that beauty that is you, because you are the crown. And I really want you to own that. Okay. So let me get us, stop share here. Let me get us some background music. All right. And then all you have to just listen. I'm going to walk you through it. Try to keep this kind of low so you can still hear me. Yes. And just close your eyes for a second. Take a big breath in. Let that breath go. One more big breath in. And let it go. Good. As we enter into this meditation,
what if you could upload one mini AI written ebook onto Amazon?
Breathing deeply, right? As I let her play through our commercial, you're just going to focus on breathing deeply. And you're just going to follow that breath. Breathing in. Take your time, free your mind. Breathing out. You can find but with each inhale, I want you to pull in your strength, breathing in. And with the exhale, push out doubt. Take your time. Count down from 5, inhaling on 5, drawing in confidence. Exhale, pushing out fear. Redefine, realign, deep inside. Settle into that breath. Feel the music, feel the word. Inhale on 4, embracing resilience. Take your time, free your mind. Exhale, releasing hesitation. You can find peace of mind. Good. Inhaling on 3. Take your time, free your mind. Absorbing that crown of determination and exhaling, letting go of uncertainty. Slow. Take your time, free your mind. You can find peace of mind. Inhaling on 2, filling up with purpose, breathing in. Redefine, realign. Exhaling, clearing out, second guess. I know times are kinda tough right now. Inhaling on 1, capturing your brilliance, breathing in. You're a diamond in the rough. Love yourself, know your worth. Exhale all the remaining. I know times are kinda tough right now, and you'd rather be in love. You're a diamond in the rough. Love yourself, know your worth. You're enough. Another big inhale. Love yourself, know your worth. You're enough right now. Exhale. Love yourself, know your worth. You're enough. Love yourself, know your worth. You're enough right now. Love yourself, know your worth. You're enough. Okay, I'm gonna stop you there, and I'm gonna invite you just to one more big breath, breathing in. and then breathing out. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so hopefully you can just get the sense of what it is to just breathe in what you need and what you want, and breathing in on those skills, and then letting go, right? Letting go of the doubts, letting go of the frustrations, letting go of all the things that just don't speak to who you are and what that crown looks like. Okay, all right, so let me rock through this. Beautiful work, guys. Uh, uh, All right, so the next thing we're going to do is affirm her. And let's talk about affirmations. So, affirmations are a powerful tool for really like reshaping your mindset, and they reinforce the belief in our capabilities and counteract negative self talk. So, the science behind it is quite fascinating, really, because the human brain really can't tell the difference between like right now and yesterday. It can't really tell so well what's real and what's imagined, which is what makes this so powerful. So even if it hasn't happened yet, right, you can still think about it in a way that it feels that way to your brain, and so much so that it starts to align that way. That's why visualizations are so dope, affirmations are so dope. So when you affirm what you desire, your brain begins to align with those thoughts as if it were your reality. So that's the cool part about it. So more often you do this, the more you affirm your strengths and your capabilities, you're essentially training your brain to focus on your potential rather than your limitations. Okay. So I want you to work on that. And we're going to work on crafting some crown worthy affirmations together that reflect your strengths and some of the things that we've worked on already. So these are a couple of them. You can screenshot this real quick. And I want you to also continue to work on this in your time, right? Your quiet time, your journal time. Think about an affirmation that makes sense for you. Like, I accept and celebrate my achievements because each is a testament to my ability, right? I'm dope. I'm brilliant. I'm phenomenal. Whatever like sits well for you and gives you that little extra swagger, go with that, right? Even if you don't 100% believe it, go with it. If everyone else recognizes it and you, go with it. You just don't believe it yet, but it doesn't mean that it's not true. So go with it, right? I'm exactly where I need to be to make a positive impact. I belong in every room that I enter in because I bring value. Go with it, right? Affirm it. So say it over and over and over again, right? And another way to make this really more personal for you is I want you to think about the areas that I'm going to say you struggle in, or that you're triggered by. So yesterday we talked about some of the phrases that may relate to things like belonging, right? Sometimes we walk into a room, we don't feel like we belong there. We walk into, the C-suite, the higher level management, whatever the case may be, and we're the only ones, and that may trigger things for us too. So I would want to think about what's my trigger, what's my experience with that. If you did yesterday's homework, this will help with that too. And then I want to create an affirmation around that. So instead of the I don't belong here, my affirmation might look like what you see on the screen. I'm exactly where I need to be to make that positive impact, right? Et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Or maybe if I want to confront the fear of asking for help or delegating, if that's an issue for me, then my affirmation should align with that, right? Or if it's that self-invalidation that we talked about, my affirmation should align with that too. Okay, so we want to do this work because we're adjusting our brain a little bit, and we're getting it used to this version of who we want to be, right? That woman that will rock her crown, that woman who understands her worth, that's already there. But I just haven't been looking at it in this way, but now I'm looking at it in a way that's going to reactivate something different in you if you keep affirming it, right? This is really about building a sustainable belief in your worth and your capabilities, and it's going to start to like vibrate out into every part of your life. And this is what it is to reclaim that crown. It's to know that I have it. It's to remind myself so I can believe in it. And then my actions are going to align and follow. All right, does that make sense? Any questions on that so far? Just give me a yes if it makes sense, if it's all good. All right, cool. So we're gonna rock. Beautiful. I'm glad it's aligning. So you see like the value of doing this work, right? And I want to check in, honey. I want to check in with how you're doing because I know I feel myself picking up because of time. So I want to check in. How is this going for you so far? Right? Do you see the value of like slowing down and looking into you, right? This is like a masterclass intensive. But do you see how important it is to really slow down and pay attention to how you're showing up and in creating space to like do the self work? Yeah. It is a little bit anxiety provoking, and I'd be curious as to like why it's anxiety provoking. And it could be because I think if we haven't looked at ourselves in this way, it can bring up feelings. And I really value that comment because it can bring up feelings about doing the work ourselves. And I think sometimes we don't do the work because we are afraid of what the experience will be, even though we know it's like the good and right thing to do, right? And I think that's why a lot of us just get so distracted and caught up in nonsense, is because we really don't want to settle and take the time, like you guys are today, to look at yourself. But there's really almost like a gentle way to do it where we're doing right now, where we can like see it a little bit, we can work on it a little bit, you can pause if you need to, you can come back if you need to, and you can understand that you don't have to get stuck, right back to, you don't have to wait for anybody else to give you permission for your healing and for you to move on. Sometimes you just need to hear those things where it's like, okay, girl, why are you worried about this? And maybe you're worried about it because like you don't like to look at you, but what if you did? Right? Maybe that needs to be an affirmation. Like, it's empowering for me to look at me. I'm worth looking at. I'm worth supporting. Maybe it's not so scary to look at me, right? So we can definitely shift around that so it doesn't feel as bad to do the work for us. It could also be uncomfortable because you're not used to you and prioritizing you, right? If we're used to giving to everybody else and showing up there, sometimes again, that's easier. And we're not used to just being with us. And that could be awkward, right? Like if I've never, I don't know, learned a new language like Chinese or something, it's going to be awkward and weird for me at first because I've never really done it. So if I've never really done that self work, yeah, that's another reason why it may feel a little bit uncomfortable too. But, I hope you're starting to see again the value of it. And what I really love is how we get to do that work as a community, right? Because I think we can learn so much from each other. We can really support each other in that space of community. And I don't know who values community here. Like, does anybody else value community? Or is it just me? Yeah. And such great shares. And I tell you, this is why I love community too, because everybody brings different perspective, right? Like we have a perspective now about getting into a space and sometimes feeling like we take on everyone else's narrative and we're not sure if it's ours. And I love that too. And I won't go too far into it because again, I'm trying to honor time. Because I think sometimes it's kind of okay to lend to other people's narrative because again, it's like learning something new, right? So like I go swimming, right? So I've got to look at my swim instructor and what she does. It isn't just what she says to me because I'm also visual. So I've got to see what she does. And I borrow from her narrative because I don't know how to swim like that and I'm learning, right? So I've got to take on some of that until I find myself within that, my own rhythm, my own way of doing things, and then I create my own narrative. So I think sometimes it's okay to borrow from other people's narrative, but I hear you where we don't always want to take on everyone's story. We want to make sure that we find our own. And sometimes we do have to reassess how much of this is me. Is it really serving me? Is it what I need? Are there parts of it that I need to put down so I can take up something else? All right. So I hope that was helpful too. Love the shares on community. That sometimes I'm a soloist. But girl, how far can you get by yourself? You can't throw the rope up the mountain and climb up the mountain and have somebody secure for you at the same time. Sometimes we do need a little bit of support. I think it's again learning that. I think it's getting into the right spaces for that. Right. Here's another one for you, right? We just gonna keep checking in with each other, right? And we could see how many yeses we get as we explore, where we are now and what we really need. So is imposter syndrome something you realize you need to keep working on? I think when you come to spaces like this, you're like, man, it's great, but I got work to do. Right? And it's holding me back. right? So maybe that's a yes for you, right? Do you often doubt your abilities and wish you had a way to build your confidence? Let me know if that's you. My mind is going back to that song, Take Your Time, Free Your Mind. This is us taking our time to free our mind. Yeah. And another reason I love shares is like, we see it ain't us. We're not the only ones, right? And which brings me to my next one, right? Do you sometimes doubt your abilities and wish you had a way to build that confidence, right? Do you sometimes feel lost without the direction? It's like that sense of stuckness, right? I think a lot of us get there too, where it's like, I know there's just something else. I just don't know like the how, but I'm tired of being in that same place, right? I think even as like professionals and knowing all the things that we know, just being like dope women, we could still get stuck, and it's just never a good feeling. And I think the big one is probably that last one too that we already kind of touched on. It's that sense of putting everyone else first. And I think some of us really feel like it's time that you have a turn, right? To make things happen for yourself. And that's okay too. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's anxiety provoking, you're well worth it, right? Yeah. And maybe there's things that we need to rebuild. I see that in the chat too, right? So how many yeses did y'all get? Because I want you to see again, you're not alone. And more importantly, what it means is you value working on yourself and supporting the sister next to you. And that's what I've loved so far, from like my hype women to those of y'all dropping your answers in the chat and lending your perspective and thinking out loud. It's just so valuable, right? And for me, I want to really continue this. And that's why I do this, because I want you to have the information and to know that it's okay to really keep working on you, right? And I actually want to share a little bit with you about like my baby that I'm working on, because I really want us to have this space and to keep doing this personal growth work. And that's the Mindset Collective. So this is part of something that's bigger for me. I am a therapist, like I said before, and support of Black and brown women, honey. Right? And for me personally, I was really stuck on how do we keep bringing more skills to folks, because the brunches, the conferences, all that dope stuff is cute, but it's not enough, right? Even the challenges, even going to therapy. Of course, I'm a big supporter of therapy, but I feel like it's good for some momentum, and then the hype goes away, right? Therapy has to come to an end. I don't believe you should be in therapy forever. But then once it goes away, we kind of slip back into old habits, especially if we're around the same environment and the environment hasn't done the same work that you've done. So we kind of need a way to keep the momentum going. And that's where this came about for me, a space to continually renew your mind. Tell y'all I'm a woman of God, you know what I'm saying? I was a preacher's kid. But a space to renew your mind and keep building your mindset. And that's what it's like was birthed out of for me. And that's why I do this work. So it's been one of the most important projects for me in my career. And it's literally a collective space of the emotional tools and resources that we need, right? And the support, right? It feels just like this, feels like home. I think I say that in my welcome home, right? Dope, right? Yeah. It's cool to like conceptualize something and see it coming together. And that's what's been coming together for me. So like imagine you in this space, you know what I'm saying? It's letting go of the fear and doubts. It's a space where you can really get what you need and benefit from the collective wisdom like we see in this experience. And you have access to really advanced learning because it's quality stuff. It's an intimate community. It's year round. It's the lessons, the collective support. It's Black and brown professional women. And what I'll do at the end of this, if you want, I can give you a quick tour of the learning area for those that want a little sneak peek. And for those who are like ready, like, yes, this is what I need. I'll drop the link there for you guys too. Like some of the OGs that are in the community have been in this challenge too, which has been dope too. We're just opening it up for a short period of time. So if folks want to jump in, they have the opportunity to do that as we continue to build and create. The OG's gotten like a super dope rate, and it's going to be different when we do reopen it again because of just what we're planning for the platform. So whatever you come in at now, like that's where you're going to be, which is pretty awesome. As they say, today's price will not be tomorrow's price, all right? But here's a little bit more of us and what's in there. So take a look at that. Let me see if I can drop the link there for you guys too. Multitasking here. All right, so you guys can grab the link there too. You can also just open it up so you can come back to it later. But this is like my joy. It's my joy because one of my strengths is I'm super creative. So it gives me a chance to create and in a not a limiting way, because I love, again, my work as a therapist and things like that, but there's a lot of limits there. So this allows me to work outside the limits, which I think is just exciting and dope, right? So, you see there some of the things that you can look forward to. We got monthly curated content, lots of tools and workbooks are there for you, the accountability to stay on track. It's a really intimate community. It's not big and overwhelming. Lots of experiences, networking events is something monthly that's always happening. I'm actually working on this month's theme now, which is goals. So we have a workbook on reverse engineering your goals, our mindset happy hour. That's the monthly meetup similar to this. So you get that date in advance, you could plan for it, and very interactive. So this one's going to be like a sensory one. Might include like some tapping and some breathing and some visuals to help us with this idea of goals and going back to this concept of how our mind takes in information and how to really get to that place of belief and bigger. That's what we're working on there. So that's going to be awesome. Okay. So we're almost there. So I want to get us through this. So we're going to just recap. So big breath, everybody. So y'all got that information. So big breath for me, big breath in. Let that go. Awesome. So short time, but we did a lot, right? We explored the power of affirmations, but first we found our crown and we realized that, yeah, the crown is us, right? And then we looked at how do we affirm her, right? Once we tapped into our strengths, we looked at how to affirm her and reshape that mindset to keep us going. Right. And we shared how to do this work and keep going as well. And tomorrow we're going to put this together with an action plan to keep that crown because it's so easy to get disconnected and to short circuit again. And that's why we've got to keep doing the work. And you guys are going to have some work to do because I love my homework, honey. So hopefully you're doing okay, but I'm going to get us to the homework. So the homework today, and this is our application because we want to put this together. I want you to choose one affirmation from today's session that resonated with you or create your own. So go back to, okay, what are the things that I say to myself when that imposter comes up? Like, I don't belong here. I'm not enough. I don't know enough. I need more information. Or go back to yesterday's homework. That will help with this too. When you had that scenario and you looked at the details of when you were triggered, take that scenario, see what's happening there and create the affirmation around that. Okay. So that's the work. Create the affirmation for the thing that kind of like triggers you and gets you going, okay? And then in the next 24 hours, I want you to apply this affirmation in a specific situation where you feel the doubt or the hesitation. So we're going to put it into practice right away. So create the affirmation and apply it right away. So look for a situation to apply it or just hold on to it all day. Say it in your head. Put it on a sticky, put it in your car, hide it in your drawer, put it on your phone so it comes up as a task every day, every other day. I have a lot of affirmations that I schedule out for like the year and it comes up on like a rotation. So like every day I get a new one, right? So we want to keep you in that state of belief. And now we're going to take it a step further. Boop, 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 boop. So after you've completed the affirmation application, I want you to take 10 minutes to journal about that experience. So just like we asked you to journal about what triggers your imposter syndrome, I want you to journal about doing like this reverse work, this like dismantling work, right? This bigger belief work. Journal on that. Okay, take a couple minutes. How did you feel before you used the affirmation? So that's going to be you in that triggered space, in that imposter space. Think about what changed in your behavior or your feelings after you applied the information or the affirmation, sorry. Even if it's a simple change, we want to note that because that simple change is what we want to keep building on, right? And it may seem so subtle, right? Like, oh, maybe I paused and took a breath. Awesome. Maybe I never did that before. Maybe I just noticed how I felt in the space. Maybe you never noticed that before because you were just busy responding to it, right? We want to change that for you. Okay, what was the outcome of the situation? So what happened now that I started to use that affirmation? And how did others react if they noticed at all? Right, we want to note that too. Right, but that's like a sidebar because the first part is how did you react and really what's happening for you? Okay, so that's the homework. Let me know your thoughts on the homework. Let me know if you have any questions on the homework. Oh, it's okay. We started at 12, but it's all good. Yes, replay will come out for you. There's a link to the platform that I just shared with you guys too to continue doing the work. So that's the homework, right? So at least you got the homework for the sis who came in at the end, and now you just got to watch the rest so you can catch up. All right, okay, beautiful. So I want to get you to the things that you got to do. So give me your one takeaway from today. What's standing out from today? Even if you came in at the end and you're like, oh, I got homework to do. What is your takeaway from today? And then we're back, you know, our back time. From tomorrow or next session, we're going to put this all together, right? Let me know your takeaway from today. So before you leave, before you head out, give me your takeaway. Yes, affirm myself and start speaking life into myself. Yes. And again, I love that share, and so I love community because so many things I don't even think we realize that it speaks over our lives and it takes from us because it's not always as clear as this. These are the words that I'm saying, right? It's those subtle messages, right? And I have this experience from time to time when we have some bigger things happen in our society, especially around, I'll just say harming like Black and brown bodies, particularly because I have a male son. I have a son. So, you know, whenever things happen to a male, even though it's not in a way directed to me, it's like the subtle message around what has happened and the value of the life. It conveys something, right? And it makes me feel a certain sort of way. And that evokes in me like a deeper sense of imposter, where there's times where it's like I don't feel like I belong here, right? I belong in this great country, right? That there's space for me and my son and our Blackness, right? And those messages, although it's not outwardly said, the dynamics is so subtle that it's still conveying that. So I have to take note of how I feel. I have to take note of what do I need to speak over my life instead? What do I need to speak over my son's life to protect us from that too, right? The imposter is not us. The imposter is everybody else that's trying to make us small, that's trying to disconnect us from our strengths, our purpose, our gifts, our power. Because if I feel scared, if I feel worried, guess what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to fight. I'm just going to hang out in my corner. So when I recognize what's in my closet, like we talked about, all my power, my possibilities, and I hit that reset button and that power is back, honey, I'm in a different position. I'm going to wear that crown differently. I'm going to stand differently. I'm going to show up differently. I'm going to do differently. Okay, so that's what this is about, right? So go find that crown, practice wearing her. That's what this affirmation and this homework is. That's you practicing wearing that crown. Go back and do the meditation. I'm going to email that to you guys too. Enjoy. Thank you so much. This was so good for me. Yeah, this was really good and filling for me. I hope it was great for you guys. Thank you so much for showing up and participating. I hope to see you on day 3. Tell somebody how dope this was, and you need to come for day 3. And we'll put it all together for them so they can walk away with a plan, because I want you to have a plan. Even if you don't continue with us in the community, I want you to have a plan to do this work. All right, so such a pleasure. Thank you so much for the share again. Make sure you grab the link so you see the platform, so you get in there, because you can't tell me I should have gotten sooner before I kicked up the price. You should get in there now. All right, beautifuls. I will see you soon. All the best. Thank you for spending this time with me.